The stars were silent that night. On a small green planet called Salvora, the sky glowed with soft purple light. But there was no peace on the ground. Fires burned in the forests. Strange black vines spread across the fields, choking the life out of trees, animals, even the people. The Xalvarans, gentle plant-like beings with glowing eyes and leafy skin, ran from village to village, trying to escape. But there was nowhere left to run. The darkness was coming from all directions. Their voices were soft, but full of fear as they whispered, "Please, someone help us." In the main city, the Xalvaran Council gathered. Their bodies shook as they spoke. "We have no more weapons, no more time. We must send the signal." One elder, older than the mountains, said, "But we swore never to call them." The others looked away. Everyone knew who them meant. The humans. The species that the galaxy feared. A species that once responded to a distress call with such fury. They turned 3 suns red with fire. But now, the Xalvarans had no choice. Death was already here. They pressed the button. The distress signal shot into the sky, moving faster than light, spreading across the stars. "To any who hear this, we are under attack. We are dying. We need help. Please. Anyone, please." The message repeated again and again, reaching the corners of the galaxy. Many species heard it and ignored it. The Galactic Union heard it and erased it. "Salvora is already lost," one ambassador said coldly. "Why risk our people?" None of them replied. No one ever helped planets infected by the Black Root. Not because they didn't want to, but because they were afraid. The Black Root didn't just kill. It spread. It learned. And it always came back. But someone did answer. 3 days after the signal was sent, a sound filled the sky above Salvora. Not thunder, not wind. A low hum, deep and cold. The clouds broke apart as a small black ship slowly lowered into the air. It had no symbols, no flags, just dark metal and the mark of Earth, a circle with a red line through it. The Xalvarans watched with wide eyes. They had hoped for an army, weapons, a fleet, but only one ship had come. A door opened with a hiss. A single human stepped out. She was tall, wearing a suit of strange armor that moved like liquid but shined like steel. Her eyes were hidden behind a dark visor. She looked at the Xalvarans and said nothing at first, just looked around, scanning the land, the air, the sky. Her voice finally came, calm and cold. "Captain Rhea Stone, Earth Special Unit." Response received. One of the council members stepped forward nervously. "You came alone?" he asked. Rhea nodded once. "That's all that's needed." The council looked at each other in fear and confusion. "But the infection is everywhere. It has killed thousands. It cannot be stopped." Rhea walked past them slowly, looking at the black vines crawling along the ground. She bent down, touched one with her glove. The vine hissed and shrank back like it had seen a predator. She stood up and said, "I've seen worse." Far above the planet, in deep space, other species were watching. The Galactic Union had sent hidden drones to observe. When they saw the human land, alarms rang through their ships. "She came," whispered a lizard-like commander. "We told them not to call Earth." They didn't listen. Another alien, with glassy skin, stared at the screen and said, "Pray she leaves when it's done." Back on Salvora, the sky began to darken again. A storm was coming, not of rain, but of shadows. The infection was moving fast now, like it knew something dangerous had arrived. The black vines grew longer, sharper. Creatures with glowing red eyes crawled out from the forests. The Xalvarans screamed and ran, but Rhea didn't move. She stood still, watching them come. Then she took out a small device from her belt. It began to glow blue. She spoke into it calmly. "Subject confirmed. Infection class Omega. Planet-wide spread." Then she paused. "Permission to engage." A voice answered from her earpiece. Cold. Robotic. Permission granted. Cleans with extreme prejudice. She smiled slightly. From behind her back, a strange weapon unfolded. Part gun, part blade, part flame. It began to glow with deep red light. The Xalvarans had never seen anything like it. Rhea stepped forward toward the creatures. The first one lunged at her. She cut it in half midair. It didn't even have time to scream. One of the council members gasped. She's not here to save us. She's here to end it. And far away, deep in the galaxy, a voice whispered in fear. They begged for help. But what came was humanity's wrath. The air on Salvora was heavy with silence. Smoke still rose from the forest where Rhea Stone had landed. The black vines had pulled back. The infected creatures that once ran wild were now hiding in the shadows. Something had changed. Something had scared them. And it wasn't fire or weapons. It was her. Rhea stood still, scanning the land with her visor. Her suit sent data directly into her brain. Temperature, movement, sound, air quality, infection levels. Everything pointed to one thing. The planet was dying. But she wasn't here to save the planet. She was here to stop the infection, no matter the cost. The Xalvaran Council watched from a distance. Their bodies trembled, not just with fear of the infection, but fear of her. One council elder, a pale green being named Sovari, turned to another and whispered, "We asked for help. Did we just invite our death?" The other didn't answer. He just kept staring at the human. Rhea moved quickly. She entered a small abandoned village near the crash zone. The doors were broken. The walls were cracked. Inside, black slime dripped from the ceilings. The infection had already taken root here. She walked in alone. The Xalvarans watched her go in and waited. Minutes passed. Then they heard it. Screams. Horrible, high-pitched screams that didn't sound human or alien, just wrong. Then silence. Complete silence. Not even birds. The Xalvarans held their breath. Slowly, Rhea walked back out. Her armor was covered in dark blood and ash. She tossed something onto the ground. A creature's head, twisted, pulsing with red veins. Still twitching. She spoke into her earpiece. "Infection is aware of my presence. It's changing tactics. It's afraid." In a hidden corner of space, far above Salvora, a galactic Union ship watched the events unfold through high-powered satellites. Inside, leaders of several alien races sat around a glowing table. The images of Rhea appeared on the screen. The room was quiet. A green-skinned general leaned forward. "She's alone. But look what she's doing." A nervous ambassador from a desert world replied, "We should have destroyed Earth when we had the chance. Now, they've become this." No one dared say it out loud, but they all knew Earth was not like the others. Earth never followed the rules. Back on the surface, Rhea had set up a small camp in the middle of the ruins. It wasn't for sleeping. Humans like her didn't rest during missions. She was building something. A scanner tower. It blinked and beeped, sending pulses deep into the ground. She looked around. The infection had started as a seed, a bioweapon made long ago in a forgotten war. It fed on energy, on life, on thought. It learned. And now, it was growing smarter. Suddenly, the ground shook. The scanner blinked red. From the trees came a low sound. Not a growl, not a roar, but a deep pulse, like a heartbeat. Something massive was moving underground. Rhea didn't flinch. She turned on her weapon. It glowed again, not red this time, but blue. Freezing energy. She whispered, "Come on then." From the trees they came. Not one, but dozens of creatures. Twisted forms, long claws, burning eyes. Some crawled, some flew. One of them opened its mouth and spoke, not words, but a horrible mix of sounds that felt like pain and fear mixed together. A psychic scream. Rhea moved. One shot. 2, 3. Bodies dropped. The ground burned with white fire. She sliced through them like a machine. Calm. Precise. She didn't just kill. She erased them. From behind a broken wall, a young Salvaran watched. His name was Vel. He had lost his family to the infection. Now he stared in awe. This human was not a soldier. She was something else. Something built for this. Vel whispered to himself, "She's not fighting to protect us. She's fighting to destroy it, like she's done it before." After the battle, Rhea stood among the ashes. She picked up one of the creature's bodies. It was still warm. She took a sample of its blood and connected it to a small glowing device on her wrist. It hissed, scanned, and then spoke. Match confirmed. Earth Conflict 9 strain. Modified. Intelligent. Rhea's face tightened. "You're back," she said quietly. Flashbacks filled her mind. Long ago, on a human colony far from Earth, this same infection appeared. Billions died. But Earth didn't cry. Earth didn't beg. Earth came with fire and steel and wiped out everything, including the colony itself. The infection had escaped then. Now it had returned. She whispered into her comm again. "This is personal now." Far above, in the Galactic Union war room, one of the diplomats watched Rhea's face on the screen. "If she wins," he said, "she won't stop here." The others said nothing. And on Salvora, the infection began to pull back, not because it was losing, but because it remembered. It remembered Earth, and it remembered her. The village was quiet again. The fires had died down. The infected were gone, at least for now. But Captain Rhea Stone knew better. This was not the end. It was only the beginning. She stood in the middle of the ruins, holding a small glass container. Inside it was a piece of the creature she had killed. Dark, slimy, still moving slightly, even though it had been torn apart. It wasn't dead. Not fully. The infection never died easily. It remembered. It evolved. Rhea placed the container into a locked box and whispered, "Let's see what secrets you're hiding." Deep below the surface of Salvora, something moved. The black root, the living infection that had already taken millions of lives, was watching her. It didn't have eyes, but it could see. It didn't have ears, but it could hear. Most of all, it could feel her, and it hated her. Inside the infection, a voice echoed. Not human, not alien. A voice made of pain and memory. "She has returned," it whispered to itself. "The Fireborn, the Deathbringer, the one from Earth." On the surface, Rhea worked quickly. She had set up a clean zone around her camp, using chemical mists and heat fields to burn anything infected that got too close. Salvarans stayed far away, watching from a safe distance. Only one of them dared to approach. The young one, Vel. He crept forward, his leafy skin glowing faintly. He called out softly, "Human." She turned and looked at him. "My name is Vel," he said. I want to know. What are you?" Rhea didn't answer right away. She stared at him, then finally said, "I'm here to kill the thing that's killing your world." Vel looked down. "Can you really do that?" "No one else could." Rhea picked up her weapon. "That's because no one else tried like we do. We don't run. We don't negotiate. We end threats." Vel was silent, but his eyes stayed on her. She didn't speak like a hero. She spoke like someone who had seen too much, someone who had lost more than he could imagine. That night, something changed. The scanner Rhea placed in the ground began to scream. Its lights turned red. The infection was moving. Fast. It wasn't spreading like before. It was focusing. Gathering. Learning. It had one goal now, her. Rhea grabbed her helmet and activated defense mode. The ground beneath her began to crack. From the earth, a massive shape began to rise. It was not just a creature. It was a part of the planet itself, twisted and controlled by the infection. A massive tree, rotten and black, covered in mouths and eyes. It let out a low roar that shook the sky. Vel saw it from the hills and screamed, "What is that?" Rhea didn't answer. She was already charging. The ground exploded around her. Vines shot up like whips. She dodged, rolled, and fired. Her weapon burned blue, cutting through the black flesh. But the creature didn't stop. It grew arms, legs, wings. It became something between a tree, a dragon, and a nightmare. It opened its giant mouth and spat acid toward her. She jumped out of the way just in time, but part of her armor melted. She gritted her teeth. "All right," she said. "No more playing nice." She reached into her pack and pulled out a small silver sphere. She threw it into the air. It exploded with light, white, blinding, and pure. The infected creature screamed in pain. The light burned it, not just its body, but its mind. This was a weapon made for one purpose: to erase corruption, to destroy things that were not meant to exist. The creature tried to flee underground, but Rhea was faster. She fired one final shot into its core. The explosion ripped through the ground, throwing dirt, roots, and black ash into the air. When the smoke cleared, there was silence. Nothing moved. Vel ran to the edge of the battle zone. He saw her, standing alone, covered in blood and smoke. She looked tired, but not weak. She looked like someone who had done this before, many times. She walked over to the remains of the creature. Her scanner beeped again. The voice inside her helmet spoke. "Core infection not eliminated. Hive mind still active." Rhea cursed under her breath. "That wasn't it," she muttered. "Just a puppet." Far underground, the infection was watching. It had tested her, and failed, but now it understood. She was the one it had failed to destroy long ago. The one who had wiped out its brothers. The one who had burned an entire moon just to stop the spread. The infection was afraid, but it was also angry. It began to shift, to evolve, to plan. Far above, in the Galactic Union station, one of the alien leaders watched the feed with wide eyes. She killed one of the root beasts, alone. Another whispered, "She's not a soldier, she's a weapon." And on Earth, thousands of light years away, a screen lit up in a hidden base. "Mission status ECALTTD, Threat Level Critical. Humanities Vodorat Level 2, UNOCKED." The skies over Xalvora were no longer silent. They trembled. Clouds gathered above the forests where Rhea had destroyed the infected beast. Black ash still floated in the air, and the ground was cracked open like a wound. The battle had ended, but the war had only just begun. Rhea stood over the burnt remains of the creature she had killed. Her visor blinked red. Data filled her display, warning her, hive mind not destroyed. Mutation level rising. Infection spreading underground. She clenched her jaw. "It's learning faster than expected." Her voice was calm, but her eyes were cold. She knew what this meant. The infection was adapting to her weapons. It would become stronger, smarter, more dangerous. Back in the Salvaran city, the council met again. Fear had returned to their voices. "We should never have called her," one elder whispered. "She's not here to save our world. She's here to wipe out the infection, even if it kills us too." Another replied, "She's our only chance now. If she leaves, the infection wins." And then Vel entered the room. The young Salvaran's voice was shaky but strong. "I saw her fight. I saw what she did. She didn't run like we did. She didn't hide. She walked into death and burned it alive." The elders listened in silence. For the first time, someone among them believed in the human. Meanwhile, far above the planet, a second ship appeared. It was not from Earth. It belonged to the Galactic Union. A sleek, silver ship carrying a team of diplomats, scientists, and a single warrior-class commander. Their mission was simple: observe the human, contain the threat, if necessary, remove her. Inside the Union ship, A council member named Drax stood in front of a screen. "Earth never told us they had sent her," he said. "They'd broke protocol." Again. The lizard-like commander beside him growled. "Earth doesn't follow anyone's rules. They think they're above us." Another diplomat asked, "Should we interfere?" Drax didn't answer. He stared at the footage of Rhea fighting alone and muttered, "Only if we're ready to die." Back on Salvora, Rhea had moved into the mountains. Her scanners had picked up something strange. High-energy readings from deep underground. She climbed through jagged cliffs, her armor adjusting to the pressure and heat. The deeper she went, the more the infection signs increased. She found it after 3 hours. A tunnel. Wide, long, and covered in black slime. It pulsed with a strange red glow. It wasn't natural. It was alive. She turned on her recorder. Subject log. Hive pathway confirmed. Energy levels unstable. Signs of massive growth. She paused. Then, for the first time in her mission, she sent a message back to Earth. "This is Captain Rhea Stone. Infection strain is worse than expected. Highly intelligent. Spreading faster than models predicted. I recommend full orbital support." There was silence for a moment. Then, a cold voice replied in her ear. "Request acknowledge. Wrath Protocol. Stage 2. Activated." She stepped into the tunnel. Inside, it was like walking into a living creature. The walls pulsed. Strange noises echoed. Whispers, cries, even laughter. Rhea didn't slow down. She walked deeper, weapon ready, eyes sharp. Suddenly, the infection spoke. Not with words, but thoughts. A voice inside her mind. Cold, sharp, curious. "You are the one who burned the colonies. The one who killed the hive on Delta Prime. You are death." Rhea stopped. "You remember me," she said. The voice replied, "We remember all pain." "Good," she said. "Then you know what's coming." And she fired. The tunnel shook as fire poured from her weapon. The infection screamed, not with one mouth, but with thousands. It tried to fight back, sending monsters and shadows to stop her. But she was ready. She moved like a storm. Her bullets were fire. Her sword was ice. Nothing touched her. The infection pulled back again. But it was watching. It had made a mistake. It had waited too long. Now, humanity had arrived. Far above, the Earth fleet finally responded. 10 massive ships uncloaked near the planet's orbit. Black, silent, shaped like blades. Each one carried a symbol. A burning skull inside a broken ring. The mark of Earth's wrath units. The Galactic Union ship panicked. They came. One diplomat shouted, "This wasn't a rescue mission. This was a purge." The human ships didn't send a greeting. They sent a warning. To all nearby vessels, "Salvora is under Earth jurisdiction. Do not interfere. This is not a rescue. This is a cleansing." The Galactic Union ship began to back away. No one wanted to face what was coming. On the planet, Vel watched as the skies turned red with light from the new ships. He turned to his people and whispered, This is what happens when humanity gets angry." Rhea stood at the edge of the tunnel. Looking up at the red sky, she received the new orders in her helmet. "Purge begins at dawn." And the infection, buried deep inside the planet, whispered with dread. "The fire has returned. The end is coming." The sky above Salvora turned blood red as Earth's warships arrived. 10 dark ships, shaped like daggers, floated above the planet. They didn't speak. They didn't warn again. Their presence was the warning. Every species in the galaxy knew their symbol, the burning skull. Earth's wrath was here. On the ground, Rhea looked up from the mountains, her visor glowing. She had received the message. Purge begins at dawn. Clear ground for bombardment. Priority. Total infection removal. Civilian casualties acceptable. Her eyes narrowed. She turned off the message and whispered, "No, not yet." Rhea had seen too many planets die. Too many people turned to ash in the name of safety. She knew what Earth could do. She was their weapon once, but she wasn't a machine anymore. In the city, the Salvaran Council panicked. Ships were prepared for evacuation. Children were rushed into shelters. Some leaders shouted, "They're going to destroy everything." Others screamed, "We called for help, not extinction." Only Vel stayed calm. He remembered Rhea's words. She didn't want to destroy. She wanted to end the infection. There was a difference, but time was running out. Deep under the planet, the infection had grown. It had watched the battle. It had listened to the humans. It knew what Earth would do next. It wouldn't wait. From every shadow, the infection attacked. It didn't send monsters this time. It sent voices. It infected minds. Salvaran civilians began screaming. Some tore at their skin. Others walked calmly into the streets with black eyes and smiles that didn't belong to them. Rhea saw it happen from the cliffs. She activated her scanner. Brainwave patterns across the city were changing. The infection had gone psychic. "Damn it," she muttered. "It's not just spreading. It's taking over their thoughts." She opened a channel to the fleet. "This is Captain Rhea. Hold orbital strike. Civilians are infected, but still alive. I can stop this." The reply came cold and short. "You have 1 hour." Rhea didn't wait. She moved fast through the forest, through the ash and broken ground, back toward the city. Her boots hit the soil like thunder. The infection sensed her coming and sent creatures to stop her, black things with long arms and faces twisted like melting masks. But she moved like a storm. Her sword burned with cold blue fire. Each swing cut the monsters in half. She didn't slow. She didn't speak. She ran straight into the heart of the infection. The central root. It was buried beneath the city. A giant black tree made of flesh and shadow. Its roots had wrapped around the entire planet. It pulsed like a beating heart, and in the center was something worse. A copy of her, a human-shaped figure. Same face, same voice, same armor, but its eyes were wrong, black and empty. Rhea stopped. "So that's your plan," she said. "You're trying to become me." The creature smiled. "We learn," it said. "We adapt. We copy what kills us." She raised her weapon. "Too bad you copied the wrong part." They clashed. The infection's copy moved fast, but not fast enough. Rhea fought with precision. She knew every move her double would make, because it came from her. Still, the infection wasn't weak. It fought with shadows. It twisted her memories. It showed her faces from her past, the colony she lost, the friends she killed when she burned the infected moon. It tried to break her mind, but Rhea didn't stop. She planted an explosive at the root's core and set the timer. "You're not me," she said to the copy. "You're just scared." The fake Rhea screamed and rushed her, but too late. The bomb went off. The explosion tore through the central hive. The psychic scream that followed was heard across the city, not with ears, but in every mind. The infection shrieked. Its hold on the people broke. The black eyes turned back to normal. The voices stopped. Vel felt it first. The fear in his head disappeared. He looked up at the red sky and whispered, "She did it." From orbit, Earth's fleet saw the change. Scanners showed the infection weakening, brainwaves returning to normal. Their commander gave one final order: cancel the purge. For now. Back in the crater where the explosion happened, smoke covered everything. Then a figure walked out, armor cracked, blood dripping, but alive. Rhea. She limped out, her voice weak but steady. Infection core. Destroyed. Vel reached her first. He didn't speak. He just stood in awe. All across the city, the Salvarans stepped out of hiding. For the first time in weeks, they saw a clear sky. But above them, the human ship still waited. Because this wasn't over. Not yet. For the first time in many days, The skies over Xalvora were quiet. The infection's central hive was gone. The black vines stopped moving. The whispering voices fell silent. The Xalvoran people stepped into the light again, confused, afraid but alive. Captain Rhea Stone stood in the center of the smoking crater, her armor cracked, her face bruised, but her eyes focused. She had survived the blast. Barely. She had destroyed the core, but she knew better than to celebrate. The infection wasn't dead. Not fully. Above the planet, Earth's Wrath ships remained still, waiting. One of the commanders on board watched her through the ship's screen. He turned to his officer and asked, "She stopped the spread. So why do I still feel like this planet's cursed?" Down on the ground, Vel helped Rhea walk to safety. She didn't say much. She just kept scanning, watching for signs of movement. Then her scanner beeped, softly, but enough to make her stop. A signal. Not from the infection. From Earth. She tapped her earpiece. A cold voice came through. "Captain Rhea Stone. The infection on Xalvora is not local. We have confirmed source. The cradle." She froze. "No. That place is off limits. It was destroyed." The voice replied. "It reactivated. We don't know how. You must return. We are sending the Archangel." Rhea's face went pale. Vel looked at her. "What's wrong? What is the cradle?" She didn't answer at first. She stared at the sky, then finally said, "It's where Earth made the first weapons like me. It's where the infection first touched us." Far away, hidden on the edge of the galaxy, the cradle had once been a secret research base. Earth had tried to create the perfect soldiers. Faster, stronger, smarter. They had used alien DNA. They had opened doors that should have stayed shut. One day, something came through. Something alive. Something dark. The infection. Earth thought they had destroyed it. But it had survived. Buried deep. Growing in silence. And now, it was calling out again. The Galactic Union picked up the signal too. Their scientists stared at the data in horror. "It's waking up," one whispered. "The source infection. The root of it all." Another added, "And Earth is sending the Archangel." Everyone in the room went quiet. The Archangel wasn't a ship. It was a person. Or what was left of one. A weapon created when even Rhea had failed. A being made to erase planets, not save them. A thing Earth only released when total extinction was the only option. Vel watched as Rhea packed her gear. "You're leaving?" he asked. She nodded. "This was just the surface infection. The real war is at the source. But who will protect us if it comes back?" She placed a small device in his hand. A glowing cube. "If the infection returns, press this," she said. "And run." He looked down at it. "What will it do?" She gave him a sad smile. "End everything." That night, Rhea stood on a cliff, staring at the stars. One of the Earth ships opened a transport beam for her. She turned to Vel one last time. "You're stronger than you know," she told him. "Don't be like us. Be better." Then she was gone. Shot into the sky like a burning light. The Xalvarans watched in silence. And deep in space, the infection watched too. It had felt the death of its child hive. It had felt the human's fire. Now, it would wake the old one. Inside the cradle, the walls pulsed. Machines came alive. Black veins slid across metal floors. And in the center, a massive cocoon opened. A creature stepped out. Tall, half human, half infection, with eyes like endless void. It opened its mouth and screamed, not in fear, but in rage. The infection had evolved. It had learned war. And now it was ready. From Earth's high orbit, the Archangel was released. A silver spear broke through the darkness of space, heading straight for the cradle. Inside it stood one being. Tall, silent, stronger than Rhea. Made for only one thing. Extinction. The final battle was coming. One last war. Humanity versus the infection. And this time, only one would survive. The stars burned quietly as Earth's last weapon approached the cradle. The Archangel. A silver war capsule, sharp as a blade, silent as death, entered orbit over the dead research world. Inside, it carried only one being. Humanity's final answer to the infection. Not human. Not machine. Something in between. It had no name, no soul, and no fear. The infection felt its arrival. All across the surface of the cradle, black roots shivered, creatures born from shadow, and hate rose from the ground. They had waited centuries in silence. Now, they were ready. At the same time, Captain Rhea Stone arrived at the edge of the system. Her ship was small and fast, taken from Earth's fleet without permission. She didn't care. She couldn't let the Archangel face the infection alone. Because Rhea knew something the generals did not. The infection had changed. It had evolved from whispers to warriors, from parasites to leaders. Deep in the core of the cradle, it had built a mind. Not just one, but many, joined together in a perfect hive. And at the center was a creature wearing her face. The infection had copied her again. But this time, it had given her a name. The Hive Queen. When Rhea landed, the skies above the cradle burned with fire. The Archangel had already begun the attack, descending from orbit like a comet, tearing into the surface with white-hot weapons that melted stone and bone alike. The infection fought back with everything it had. It sent storms, beasts, and rivers of black fire. It screamed across dimensions, but the Archangel didn't slow down. It walked through hell like a god of war, emotionless, unstoppable, until it met the Hive Queen. Rhea arrived just as the two faced each other. She watched from a ridge, hidden in the shadows. The Archangel and the Queen stood still. Two titans, one born of metal and human pain, the other of corrupted memory and perfect hate. The battle began. It was beyond words, faster than thought, louder than thunder. The ground shattered. The sky turned red. Each hit between them caused shockwaves that cracked the planet. The infection screamed in rage. The Archangel never made a sound. Rhea knew she couldn't just watch. She ran toward the fight, through broken ruins, dodging claws and fire. She didn't know how to stop them, but she had one last plan, a weapon buried deep in the cradle's heart. The first core. The original machine that had opened the gates between worlds. The same one that brought the infection in long ago. If she could destroy it, everything connected to it would die. Even the hive. Even the Archangel. She made it to the core. It was a huge black sphere, floating in a pit of red energy. Voices swirled around it. Not real voices, but memories of everyone the infection had touched. Rhea could barely stand, but she placed her last charge at the base. The timer blinked. 60 seconds. She turned to leave, but the Hive Queen was already there. Burning. Broken. But still alive. You think you can stop what's already begun? The Queen hissed. Rhea raised her sword. You're not me. You're just a copy of my worst days. The Queen smiled. I'm stronger than you ever were. Maybe, Rhea said. But I chose to be human. And she attacked. The final fight was brutal. The Hive Queen fought like a shadow, but Rhea fought like a storm. With each hit, she pushed the infection back. Behind them, the core began to shake. The timer hit 5 seconds. Rhea tackled the Queen into the pit. The world exploded. A light so bright it reached the stars. And then, silence. When the dust cleared, the cradle was gone. Nothing remained but glassed earth and broken stone. The infection was dead. The hive mind silenced. The Archangel stood at the edge of the crater. Its armor melted, its power drained, and for the first time, it fell to its knees. It had completed its mission, but at a cost. Back on Salvora, Vel stood beneath a clear sky. The stars above were bright. A signal came through. Earth broadcast. Mission complete. Infection terminated. Captain Rhea Stone. Status unknown. Vel closed his eyes. He didn't cry. He smiled. She saved us, he whispered. The human saved us all. Across the galaxy, planets once afraid of Earth now watched in silence. They had begged for help once. What came was humanity's wrath, but also their sacrifice. Because when humanity fights, they fight to the end. And when they bleed for more than just revenge. They bleed for hope. The end